I'm Bethany Anderson, and you're listening to The Hope Adventure. Welcome to today's special episode. For those of you who've been listening to The Hope Adventure for a while, you'll know that one of the ways that I operate personally is that with each episode that I publish, I really try to lean in and hear the Father's voice. Well, I had already published my episode for this week when I felt really pricked and compelled by Him to use the gift that He's given me of this platform, this podcast, and invite some friends to the table to have a conversation about the racial tension that we're seeing played out in protest and conversations and videos about what's really happening right now in America with systemic racism and the fight for freedom from oppressive systems and police brutality. For me, I feel like this situation, this video of George Floyd, there was something in it that was like the tipping point for the white community that broke the waters of silence. And as I have leaned in as a learner and a listener, watching videos, documentaries, reading articles, talking to different people, really trying to educate myself, I have two things that have come to the forefront. One, my silence has been more hurtful at times than helpful. Silence is deafening. And so I admit that I probably say a lot of things wrong. In this conversation that you're about to listen to. But speaking up is better than saying nothing at all. And there's grace for the learning. My friends on this conversation have extended me a lot of grace. The second thing I've realized is that there has been a dehumanization of a whole race of people. And it's been happening in America for generations. It's been happening around the world, yes, in lots of ways. And unfortunately, this is part of a broken and fallen world. But I believe this is a kingdom issue. This is not a political issue. It's not about conservatives or liberals, Democrats or Republicans. This is an issue about humanity. Jesus himself was a revolutionary. He stood up for the oppressed. Isaiah 61 says, he was sent to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim freedom for the captives and release from darkness for the prisoners, to proclaim the year of the Lord's favor. Yes, may this year, 2020, be that year as well. And the day of vengeance of our God, to comfort all who mourn, and to provide for those who grieve, to bestow on them a crown of beauty instead of ashes, the oil of joy instead of mourning, and a garment of praise instead of a spirit of despair. Jesus was radical and a revolutionary because he came in and turned over oppressive systems to see people as they truly were. He taught us what it looks like to truly value and see people, to love them and honor them. When my Black brothers and sisters bleed, I bleed because we are one. And especially as believers, we are one in God. God created all of us, and we're in this together. So when, as the body of Christ, when the arm is hurting, the whole body hurts. So I want to invite you to listen into this conversation with open ears and open mind and open hearts, with the question in your mind of, what's my role in this? What can I do? What's the lane I'm called to run in to help carry the burden and the weight of my brothers and sisters in the Black community? I pray that you walk away changed from this conversation. I know that I sure did. Let's get to it. I want to introduce you to Ashley and Nadia, two of my childhood friends. We all grew up together in McKinney, Texas. We've stayed in touch throughout the years, and I am so honored by their time and giving in this conversation, giving emotionally, spiritually, physically. This This was a hard conversation, but a necessary one. And I am beyond grateful that they would share their hearts with me, with us. I want to thank them. And I want to invite you to listen in to our conversation. Okay, well, welcome Ashley and Nadia to the Hope Adventure. Thanks for coming today.
Thank you for having us.
So before we launch into the conversation, I just want to talk about how old we are and how long we've known each other. So let's see if we can do some math. Nadia, I think you and I have probably known each other the longest. Is that right?
At least, second grade, third grade?
Second, yeah, at Burks.
Wait, did y'all go to Burks? I went to Burks. Hello.
Okay. Oh, sorry.
Hey, I was the only black girl in my class, so I know.
Oh, okay. You got me
beat. You purple, Ashley.
Oh, thank you. Like yours too.
Yeah, you guys are matching. So Nadia and I think we were probably in some classes together. I mean, I have pictures of us from way back when that I keep everything, so I could probably go back to that. And then Ashley, I've known you for a while too, but you and I were in a 5th grade class together with a friend of ours where we all had special nicknames for each other.
Yep.
Ashlo, Betho, and J-Mo.
J-Mo. Miss Anderson's class.
Yes, that's right. And Nadia, if you're feeling left out of that, we can call you Nado on the call if you want.
I'll be okay.
She's like, I'm good. So anyway, well, I just want to thank you guys for coming on again. And really, we had a conversation before this just now, but I just want to invite people listening in to really take the posture of learning. I know for me, I want to learn from both of you. We grew up together, but we grew up with 2 different perspectives of the same world that we were living in and operating in. And I know what my experiences are. And you guys have your experiences, but I just wanted this to be a conversation for me to come as a learner and to learn from you, and hopefully those listening as well. What is my role in this as a white person, in what we're seeing happen unfold in our world? It's not the first time, and Nadia, we talked about that a minute ago. But I would just love to give you guys the space to say what is it that you wish that the white community in particular would do or would know? How can we best respond? How can we support you? How can we value your stories and your pain, the things that you carry that we don't understand from experience, but help us understand. And so I just want to open it up and let you guys just go, and we'll just kind of have an organic conversation as it unfolds. And just let me know. Please share. And whoever wants to start.
Oh, go ahead. I want to thank you first for using your platform to discuss this issue, because as we stated earlier, you'll reach people that I don't necessarily or won't necessarily reach. So I'm thankful for that. I hate that we're even to this point. And one of my main concerns was what finally happened for white people to wake up and have a whole blackout Tuesday. When I logged on for work yesterday, Salesforce blacked out. And I'm like, this is really big if corporate America is blacking out.
Yeah.
So I think the thing that I want people to understand is Black people, we're not like Puffin the Magic Dragon, or we're not like Smurfs and Gargamel, and we're not fantasies or cartoons. We're human beings that grew up with you. You know, we rode the bus with you. We walked to school with you. You know, we went to high school, elementary, college. We've always been next to you. You know, we eat the same food you eat. We don't have special Black food that comes from a special Black market. You know, we're sitting at home watching Netflix just like you. We want our kids to grow up and go to college and be successful just like you. The only difference is my skin is a little bit darker. Not necessarily today because I haven't had a lot of sun, but normally it's just a little bit darker. But I want my children, I have 3 Black sons. I have a 19-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 1-year-old. I have a husband who's 50. I want all of them to live their longest, greatest lives without being murdered for the color of their skin.
Yeah.
And I want my white allies, who I honestly see, value, and appreciate, to understand, hey, those could be my boys. You know, that could be my husband. Yeah. If you see someone mistreating them, if you see someone mistreating me, I'm pretty vocal, and I know my husband is, but if you see wrong being done to someone else and you know that's not how you would be treated if it's happening to you, I want you to stop and say, hey, that's not right. Mm. Take your voice as loud as you can, regardless of where you are, and say, hey, that's not right. Draw attention to the situation, because most people will retreat or stop once you put eyes and volume to the situation. Some will keep on, they're just that kind of person. But once you create an environment where the aggressor no longer feels safe to be aggressive, normally they'll retreat and they'll stop, and you will de-escalate the situation. When I tell you, I'm tired of seeing Black kids dying in the middle of the street, I don't want you to say, oh my gosh, that's an angry Black lady, and change it. I want you to know a mother who has sons just says she does not want to see children dead in the street. And as another mother who has sons or daughters, I want the next white woman to empathize and say, hey, I wouldn't want anyone to kill my sons in the street. You know, with the George Floyd, which I think has been the boil over for this situation, supposedly he was at a store that he frequents and he was trying to make a purchase with a $10 or a $20 bill, and they thought it was a fraudulent bill. So they called the police. How many times have we got money and you don't even know where the money came from? Money changes daily. Is death the consequence for me using a bill that I didn't even know was real, was not real? Should death be the consequence?
No way.
Should he have been in that situation with other people saying, hey guys, you know, he can't breathe? I just think as a white ally, I want you to use your voice and use your white privilege to help me out.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree 100% with Nadia. I also will add, as a white person being able to use your white voice and your white privilege, we would also ask that you educate your children. Educate your children to see color. I know so many times I have white friends who said that, well, I don't teach my children to see color. I teach my children to see a person's heart. No, I'm asking you to teach your child to see color. This way, when they do see that a black boy or a black girl is being discriminated against, they can step up and they can say something against it because they see it, they notice it for what it is, instead of sitting back and not being able to recognize it. So I'm asking that we do teach our youth, we do teach the next generation that's coming up to be able to recognize when Black people are being discriminated against, and to use your voice to step up and say, hey, that is wrong. That is wrong. I'm stepping up. I recognize it. I'm going to step up and I'm going to say it before the next Black person says it, because it's wrong. So we're asking for you to educate yourself and have sympathy and empathize and understand what it is that we go through as Black people.
Yeah. Thank you. That's really helpful. And I mentioned to you guys earlier, I think part of what we see happening is an awakening. And Nadia, you were really direct and asked me, what was it about this situation? Why is it this time you're awake to this? And I think it's multi-layered. I think it's what you said about George Floyd, hearing him crying out for his mama, and just the humanity thread. And as I have leaned in and done some research, I think the thing that stuck out to me that I didn't realize is what I would summarize in the word dehumanization. So if you look back to, first of all, slavery, which is devaluing Black people as humans, you see the protesters with the signs that say, I am a man, I am a man. Like, for me as a white person, that was not part of my education or understanding. I feel like I haven't understood what's actually been in front of us the whole time. And so for me, that's part of where the awakening comes. But I also feel like I don't have an understanding of what it's like to be a Black person in our world today, in America, one of the wealthiest countries in the world, one of the most modern. It's the land of the free, home of the brave. That is not what it feels like. And it's felt that way before, but all of a sudden I'm like, this is, we're not a free country. We have people behind bars. We have oppression in our world and in our communities that's been going on under my nose the whole time. How can I understand this better? So I would love to ask you guys as my friends, if you'd be willing to share, like, what are some things that you would want me to know of how you experience the world as a Black person? Ashley, earlier you were talking about sitting at a stoplight with a cop. Like, what are things like that that I can understand from you that I have maybe not a way of understanding if you don't share some of that?
Another scenario that I have is that I work for corporate America. I work for a publicly traded, well-known company, and I am in a management position at this company. So oftentimes I find myself sitting in boardrooms and meetings with CFOs and CEOs and presidents and VPs. I have to be, as a Black woman, and all the time, I am the only Black person in that room. And as a Black woman, I have to be very cautious of my words. I have to be cautious of my tone, because I don't want someone to say, well, she's the angry Black girl.
Yep.
So I'm constantly having to be aware, even if I just want to be passionate about something that I say, I have to be very aware of my tone, because I don't want you to think, well, she's just saying that because she's just the angry Black girl.
Yeah.
So those are some of the things that I deal with working in corporate America, that I'm always cautious of. And I have to tell my children the same thing. And it's almost like you're kind of telling them, well, you can't be passionate about something that you're really, really passionate about, because they don't see that as passion. They see that as anger, or they try to use that. Yes, they try to use that against you. Another thing that I teach my children is racial micro appreciation. And that is, my kids have said that I've said this to my children. I was blessed to be able to come up in McKinney, where I had white friends and Black friends. And my kids have experienced in school a white kid saying, why do you sound white? That's not, right. There's no such thing as sounding white. Mm-hmm. There's such thing as proper English. That's what we're teaching you. But we need to make sure that we understand that there's certain things that you say that are not okay. And we need you to be able to recognize it, and we need you to be able to educate yourself, so that you don't make someone feel like, oh, just because I talk this way, it's because I'm talking white. There's no such thing.
Right.
So just being aware, having some form of understanding, being cautious of, of what you say when you're speaking to Black people.
Yeah.
Nadia?
I know for me personally, I subconsciously do so many things that I can't even, start to tell you where they are. I never take a person to the mall. If I go into the mall, I normally have like maybe a little Vera Bradley crossbody, or I have my debit card and my keys in my pocket. I never take, I have full Louis bags, MCM, whatever. I never take an oversized bag in the mall, even though I know I can afford anything in the store, because I'm not going to give them the opportunity to look at me and say, oh, she's stealing.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I'm cautious not to have my hands in my pocket. I'm cautious to look people in the eye. My stepson, after the Trayvon thing, he had a hoodie on and he had on headphones. He was running to the convenience store to get a juice. When he gets back in the car, my husband starts yelling at him. He's like, why did you have your headphones on in this store? Why did you have your hoodie on in this store? If someone's talking to you and you can't answer, you could have got killed. And I'm sitting here thinking, why do we have to even have these conversations?
Yep.
Wow.
And I'm conscious now. I hardly really buy shirts that have a hood on them. I'm mostly buying, 2-piece sets and hats for the younger boys. But a hoodie is just a part of life. But a hoodie is dangerous for a Black person.
Wow.
An article of clothing is dangerous for a Black person. When I buy my kids clothes, I have to be sure to make sure that they're not looking too ethnic. I want them to still be trendy, but cute. I want them to be Black and proud and radical, but I don't want them to be too Black, too urban, or they'll come off as thugs. I don't want them to appear like my kids don't have Jordans and my kids don't have wind pants. There's certain clothes that I don't buy because there's a certain image that I don't want them to portray.
Mm.
But you may look at, a Caucasian kid and he's got all these outfits,
Right.
but his skin is telling you, hey guys, I'm friendly. Whereas my sons in their darker skin is automatically a threat. You shouldn't have to put that much thought and effort when you're at children's place.
Yeah.
It just shouldn't happen.
Wow. Yeah. And some of what you're talking about, I mean, I'm wearing a hoodie right now. I wear this all the time. I don't even think about that. It doesn't even cross that's not in my frame of reference. And so it's stuff like that I think is helping. Just awareness. I love what you said, Ashley, about like educate yourself and be aware. I would say some of this is so ingrained in us culturally. So what I carry culturally, what you guys carry culturally. And that's the thing about culture that's tricky, is that sometimes when it's so much in you, you're not aware that other people see it differently. And so there's things that I would never think of. I carry a big purse everywhere and I get made fun of because it's so big. But Nadia, I was like, why wouldn't she carry a big purse? Oh, because you don't want people to even have a room to say she was stealing something. That's, again, and this is the stuff that I'm just unaware of. And so I'm thankful that you guys are sharing some of this. Nadia, earlier we were having a conversation and you were talking about, I want you to talk about what you were saying about your son and how, like, get to know him and see him so that when you see a Black person that is being treated mis poorly, you feel like you know them. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you were talking about bridging the gap and fighting for people we know.
A lot of times when I meet people, the first thing I do is I'll invite them to be my Facebook friend. And if you are my Facebook friend, you'll notice I post all three of my boys because I want you to see them. I want you to watch them grow up. I want you to be familiar with them.
Yeah.
Stephen, we call him Book. Book is 19. He's incredibly smart. He's really, really sweet. He's nice and calm. I have a 3-year-old that's a whole can of revolution on his own. His name is Osiris the God. And when you name a child something that's strong, you have to expect that they're going to grow up and live up to it. He's radical. If you tell him no, he's going to figure out how to get a yes from you. It's his way or nothing. But I'm scared I'll get out for him because the world that he has to grow up in. When you see Stephen, I want you to meet Stephen and know that this is a really good guy. So if the police have Stephen pulled over, I don't want you to just automatically think, oh, they got another Black kid pulled over. I want you to be familiar enough with my kids to know, no, that's Nadia's boy. He's a really good kid and he wouldn't be doing anything wrong. Let me stop and see what's happening to him. How many times have you seen people pulled over and just kept going, it's no big deal? Every time I see somebody pulled over, I look to see, is it a person of color? Do I need to call their mama? Is this something I need to be worried about? Are they going to make it away from that? I was reading a Facebook post a friend had made the other day. I guess it's a trend because I've seen it a couple of times. And it says, have you ever had a gun drawn on you by the police? If so, how old were you? How many times? And I was thinking, man, I don't have time to comment on that post. I'll be on that post all day. The first time I ever remember having a gun drawn on me, we were in some apartments on the east side of McKinney. We were sitting outside playing, and the police said they were looking for a suspect. So when they came around the corner of the apartments, they had their guns drawn. It was nothing but kids outside playing.
Wow.
I can recall being 21. Stephen wasn't quite 2 yet. And I was driving my then boyfriend's car to work. It was early in the morning. I was going to drop Stephen off at daycare and go to work. He was from Louisiana. He had a license plate cover. It's not illegal where he came from, but obviously it's illegal here. 5 carloads of McKinney officers pulled me over. They had their guns drawn. Stephen raises up out the sunroof and he's like, police, why you got your guns on my mama? What you want? And so they calmed down. They saw it was a kid. But when I got pulled over, I was like, what is all this about? They were like, oh, your license plate cover is too dark. So this is how you greet me at 8 o'clock in the morning?
Wow.
These stories could go on and on. I've never been pulled over by less than 3 carloads of police in McKinney.
Wow.
You know, it could be the simplest thing. Your registration sticker's out. Well, my windshield needs to be replaced, so I need to put the new sticker on because I'm getting the windshield replaced tomorrow. So I just held the other sticker, and it's right here. Oh, no, ma'am, you can't do that. It took 4 Carlets police for y'all to tell me that.
Wow.
And then there are times where I can be in the same car, and I could be on the west side of McKinney and never get pulled over. There's times where I've ran red lights on the west side of McKinney. I've ran a stop sign. I've done things driving west of Highway 5 that I would never do east of Highway 5, and I've never been pulled over.
Mm.
So it just goes to show that, you know, where you are and how you are determines how you get treated. So I do go out of my way to familiarize myself and my children with other people because I can't be everywhere at one time. And so I want someone else to say, hey, as shallow as this sounds, horrible as this sounds, I want you to say, that's a good Black kid. Don't do him like that. Because in my mind, I do believe that's how white people categorize us. I do think they say, oh, I know Ashley. She's one of the good ones. We're not going to let anything happen to her. But do you know Ashley's sister? And are you going to let someone mistreat Ashley's sister just because you don't personally know her? Or do you know Ashley's cousin? Are you going to let them mistreat Ashley's cousin because you don't personally know them? And it's a tough conversation.
Yeah.
I'm going to share this story. I was going to go live on my own page and tell this story. Before you called, I asked you, I was like, oh, I need to comb my hair and get ready. And I went and I took a shower so that I could be fresh and prepared because this is exhausting. This entire week has been exhausting. And I've been dealing with sinuses and I'm scared to cough. I'm scared to sneeze because of COVID. Right. I haven't had fever, but I haven't felt good. And I've noticed the past 3 days, whenever I take a shower, I'll call Malik. I'll say, Malik, come here. And he's like, what is it? And he's, you know, Osiris is following him. He's got the baby in his hands. And I tell him, wash my back. My back just doesn't, you know, I don't feel clean. Wash my back. So today I'm home alone and I was taking a shower and I was about to call him and tell him, hey, come wash my back, but I'm home alone. And then it dawned on me, my back is not dirty. My load is heavy.
Oof.
And I just thought, I'm calling him every day this week to wash my back. I need to be wherever he is washing his back. Because if I'm this overwhelmed as a light-skinned Black woman with long hair who's friendly, how is he being treated as my counterpart? And he's a dark Black man.
Wow.
And it wore me out. It totally wore me out. And so I know that me not feeling good and me being overwhelmed, it's physical stress. It's not COVID or sinuses. I can't expect, you know, an antibiotic to make this go away.
Yeah. It's like, I don't have words for that.
That's real. I don't have any stories of being pulled over. I've never had a gun drawn on me. I will say this week has been very heavy for me too, because I have children.
Yeah.
And before, I mean, you want your kids, you raise your kids to grow up and you raise them to be good people and you know that they're good people. And now it's starting to kind of play in my head that that doesn't even matter because somebody may not even take the time to see the good in my kids and take my kids away from me.
Yeah.
That's heavy. Like, I get the heaviness, Nadia. When you reached out, Bethany, trust me, I contemplated many nights of not doing this simply because it's heavy.
Yeah.
We want to push through. We want things to be better. We want to push through. It comes to a place to where we're tired.
Yeah.
And I had a conversation with a friend yesterday and, you know, he was like, I don't understand why, you know, everybody's doing all this and being so, you know, the rioting and the protests. And I'm like, we're tired.
Yeah.
We're tired. People are tired. Black people are tired.
And let's not be confused. The rioters and the protesters are not the same people.
Are not the same people.
Saturday, we went downtown to support a Black-owned business in the West End that it got vandalized. The Burger I Am West End, Dallas, is owned by a Black guy. We went down there to just try to buy something so that he can afford to rebuild and stay in business. I had my sister in the car and my niece. Peyton is 10. We went straight, and you can see there's a couple of cop cars on every corner, but we kept going straight. We ended up in the middle of the protest. They totally surrounded my car. I wasn't scared. I was inconvenienced, but I wasn't upset because I understood those people out there were friendly. They were, hey, do you guys need anything? Do you guys want water? I'm thinking, we're in the AC. Y'all are the ones who are out there, getting the sun beat on y'all. But those people, I don't want to say those people, but the protesters, they were just protesting because they're fed up.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now, the people that you see who are rioting and looting, don't confuse them with the protesters.
With protesters,
right?
Yes.
And if you open your Instagram, you can see that happening. That there's peaceful protesting, Black Lives Matter, and then there are other people coming in, stirring up trouble and bringing all sorts of levels of complexity to it. Yeah, I'm glad you said that because I think that's really important. Ashley, you talked about this a little bit at the beginning. And as we start to wrap up, because unfortunately Zoom's going to kick us off soon. You said, please stop being silent. You were talking about that. And I would love for you guys to speak into the voice that the white community has in this, because I can tell you, even though you've said it to me, I still don't quite understand it. I'm beginning to understand. If you are the wounded person, you can stand up for yourself, but the power of the white voice in this is so important. And even Nadia, you were saying earlier, if a white person had run to try to pull that cop off of George Floyd, that would have made a world of difference. And that cop wouldn't have gone after if it was me, a girl. Just if you guys could speak into that, and I want to just give you a couple of last moments just to kind of say anything else you want to say before we wrap up.
No, I want to first start off and say, Bethany, I love you. And thank you so much for taking the first step. And the first step is that I'm sorry, I don't understand, but help me understand so that I can do something different moving forward. Yeah. And so I appreciate that. And my only thing to you is that I really hope that your listeners do see this for what it really is. And when they do make a decision to do something moving forward, that they don't stop. You got to continue moving. You can't just do it and help out right now. And then a month or 2 months down the line, it kind of dies out and it's like, I don't have anything else to do. No, we need you to continue to do it. I saw something that a friend posted online that says everybody has a lane. Your lane may be protesting. Your lane may be counseling. Your lane may be art. Your lane, whatever. Everybody has a lane, and we all should stay in our lane, and we all should continue down that lane. And so I'm just asking that whatever lane it is that the Lord chooses to move you in, that you continue to move forward in that lane. And as you move forward, you educate everyone around you, educate our young, educate everybody around you. Like I mentioned before, Nadia and I and all Black Americans have to have these uncomfortable but necessary conversations with our family and our kids. And so we need you, our white brothers and sisters, to have those uncomfortable but necessary conversations with your kids and your family and your friends.
Yeah, thank you for that. Thank you. Nadia, do you have anything you want to add?
Definitely. Just take a moment, and if you see a Black person being, stopped, pulled over, questioned, whatever it is by the police, don't automatically assume, oh, they must have done something, or oh, that's one of the bad ones. That's not always the case. There are criminals of every color. But we really need our white allies to use your voice and say, hey, what's going on here?
Yeah.
You don't have to tackle them or try and knock the cop off the kid. Just let whoever is the aggressor in the situation know there are eyes on the situation. and we're not just going to walk away. If they're going to be arrested, watch them be, peacefully put in the car and taken to be arrested. Don't just sit there and let them get beat on the street.
Yeah.
Don't think that what's happening is not your issue, or it'll eventually become your issue.
Yeah.
If you just keep passing stuff up, it'll eventually make its way to your doorstep.
Yeah.
Like in our community, we're supporting the Tarvers because of what happened to Darius Tarver in Denton. His family's from McKinney.
Wow.
His dad is the chaplain of the McKinney Police Department.
Wow.
We have to be mindful that, yes, this is happening in our own community as well. And there are people that we need to stand with. And even if all we're saying is, I see you, we just want to be seen.
Yeah. That's good. Thank you guys. Thank you guys for your vulnerability. Thank you for pushing through. And I recognize that you could have very easily said yes, and you would have been 100. I mean, you could have said no, and you would have been 100% justified in saying no to this conversation. So thank you for taking the time. Thank you for exposing your hearts and bringing that exhaustion, bringing that emotion. I can't imagine the feeling behind it all. But I do want to say that what I want to put into words what my hope is for our world in this sense. When I was a missionary in South Africa, which is a very racially charged culture, I helped run a gospel choir with colored South Africans who were from like island and Indian descent, and then the Black South Africans, and that's what they call each other, and they don't get along. But we ran a gospel choir. And I helped facilitate just like the admin side. And every time I went into that room, they would invite me, this white American girl, I had long blonde hair, and they would invite me into the middle of their choir and they would say, come sing with us. And they embraced me. And I was thinking about it. I never once felt unsafe or like I didn't belong there. And I was the only white person in a room. And I know that that is not the experience of Black Americans many times when they walk into a room with white people. And so I just want to say that that's my hope for all of us and all of you, that you can walk in and feel loved by your white allies and supported and valued. And thank you so much for your time on this conversation. And I love you both. And I'm thankful that we've done life together for so long. And I'm sorry we're just now having this hard conversation, but I think it's important. So thank you guys so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks for listening to today's conversation. If you are looking for resources to educate yourself further on some of these issues in our culture, I want to suggest a couple things that have been really helpful to me this past week. One, start by watching the Netflix documentary 13th. It's all about the 13th Amendment and is very educational. 2, there's a book called Be the Bridge by Latasha Morrison. It's a great starting place as well. And lastly, there's 2 conversations that I watched this week that were really helpful. The first one was between Christine Caine, the founder of A21 that fights against human trafficking, and Dr. Anita Phillips. The second one is a conversation between the pastor of Hillsong, New York, Carl Lentz, and Bishop T.D. Jakes. You can Google both of those. I pray that gives you a good starting point as you lean in as a learner and a listener. Keep having the hard conversations. Keep speaking up. This is how we value one another. Thanks so much for listening to today's episode of The Hope Adventure. As always, you can find me on jbethanyanderson.com or on Instagram at jbethanyanderson. Okay, see you next time. Today's music is brought to you by the Blue Dot Sessions.